But we're going to talk specifically about the Veterans
Business
Business
Outreach.
Opportunity. Business, I can't say
That's
business
okay.
opportunity.
Business Outreach
Business
Center.
Outreach Center, right? Because it is a resource partner, and you were saying that it's one of the best kept secrets when you look at the resources that are available for veterans, right?
Yeah, and it's not intentional that it's a secret, right? But it is one of America's best kept secret. In fact, the U.S. Small Business Administration oftentimes have been called America's best kept secret. And it's not intentional. You have to understand the United States Small Business Administration doesn't use its budget to market itself and to create awareness to let everybody else out there know. They use us as the resource partners and the SBA administrators to get the word out about what the SBA does and the available resources to the SBA. Everyone learns and knows about the SBA in a disaster scenario. In a disaster scenario, the U.S. Small Business Administration stands alongside of FEMA, and they help everyone to get their homes and their businesses and their lives back up and going on. But until it's a national disaster, only those pockets of the U.S. know about the SBA. And the best example I can give is COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to COVID-19, we had disasters in Louisiana. We had disasters in Houston, Texas. We had disasters in Mississippi and disasters all around the world. Each one, all around the U.S., each one of those municipalities, those regions of the country, they learned who the SBA was. But everybody learned who the SBA was when COVID-19 hit. When the coronavirus hit in 2019, all of a sudden everybody learned about the SBA and its emergency EIDL loan, right? It's emergency loan to get folks back up and running. Everybody learned about the payroll protection program to help small businesses hold on to their employees and get back up and running. Everybody learned because that was a disaster that impacted every single business and every single person in the U.S. But the SBA has been doing this since 1953. They were founded over 70 years ago for the sole purpose of growing the U.S. economy through small businesses.
Yeah. Well, here's what we're going to do. I know a lot of people may have heard about the SBA.
Okay.
But they're not familiar with the resource partners.
That's correct.
They're not familiar with SCORE, the Small Business Development Center, the Women's Development Center, I believe.
Right.
Or VBOC. So what we're going to do is we're going to narrow the scope, though, because we're going to talk specifically about VBOC.
Okay.
And so I want you to be able to educate us on really how the SBA works with resource partners, what VBOC is, and you yourself. We were just talking that you run that program for several states.
That's correct.
So talk to us about that. What is it? Because there's probably some veterans out there right now who don't have a clue as to what VBOC is.
Right. So the SBA the SBA is not a direct lender. The SBA doesn't provide direct technical assistance. The SBA utilizes a network of resource partners to execute its mission. And the mission of the SBA is really fourfold, right? So we call it 3 C's and a D.
Okay.
The 3 C's stand for counseling. C number 1 is counseling. Counseling is all the technical assistance, information, training that you would need as a small business owner to be an effective small business owner. That's the C. The second C is capital. The SBA, although it's not a lender except in a disaster scenario, the SBA has a network of lending partners. And so all of the resource partners' job is to help the SBA is to utilize the SBA's programs to distribute capital to small business so that they can start, grow, or expand. That's the second C is capital. And the third C is contracting. The largest purchaser of goods and services in the entire world, the U.S. federal government and its agencies. There's a little more than $600 billion worth of goods and services purchased by the federal government and its agencies last year alone. If you have a product or service that is purchased by the U.S. federal government or its agencies, you should make them your customer. And the process of making the federal government and its agencies your customer is called contracting, government contracting.
Okay.
That's 3 C's, and then there's the D. That's the disaster scenario, which I mentioned, where the SBA stands alongside FEMA to help folks get back up and running. And in that case, the SBA is typically the actual lender, lending to homeowners and lending to businesses at low interest rates, capital to help them get their businesses up and running.
Okay. Yeah. Now there's also a statistic that you shared with me, but I read one where it says 45% of business owners or veterans actually are going to go into business. They're self-employed. That's a higher percentage than people who are non-veterans.
Right.
When you look at who self-employed versus being employed, and you were saying that through the transition process, 18 months before they get out of service,
Right.
there are different resources and training that they're given. One for if they want to become an employee or a trade, and one if they want to become a business owner, right? And so is that where the VBOC program is delivered, or how does that work?
Absolutely. That's our main point of entry in our primary deliverable is through the Department of Defense Transition Assistance Program. So keep in mind, the Department of Defense, your relationship or our individual relationship with the Department of Defense, it starts with a recruiter bringing us into the military.
Right.
And most of the folks that are being recruited are coming directly out of high school. So they come out of high school under the tutelage and the responsibility of their parents, and then they walk into a community where Uncle Sam is now their parent.
Mm-hmm.
And they spend their life serving. These are typically folks that have a service mindset. They spend their life serving. And after they finish service, now they come back out to serve in a different capacity. We call it their second service.
Okay.
So they were serving in uniform, and now they're going to serve again outside of uniform. And this is for those individuals who are interested in serving as business owners. The data, and this is coming from a little older data, it was 2012 data, showed that about 200,000 people transition out of the military every year.
Mm-hmm.
And 25% of those that transition out say they want to be self-employed or own their own business.
Okay.
So the Department of Defense had a challenge. You had 50,000 people transitioning out of the military every year who said they want to be self-employed and own their own business. Well, that's not the wheelhouse of DOD. They don't know how to resource or train or support those folks who are wanting to be self-employed or start their own business. So they established a memorandum of understanding or some sort of legal relationship with the U.S. Small Business Administration to provide that training, to provide that information. And that information is provided through the Transition Assistance Program. This is a program where servicemen and women who are in transition 18 months prior to getting out of the military, if they're just getting out,
Mm-hmm.
or 24 months prior to getting out of the military if they're actually retiring,
Okay.
right? They get an extra 6 months if they're retiring because they've been in a little bit longer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So forth. But during that 18 to 24 month period, they have an opportunity to look at their options.
Okay.
One option is offered to them by the Department of Labor. For those who are looking to get a job, the Department of Labor has courses that will talk to them about how to write a resume and how to dress to impress and so on and so forth, and how to interview. Then it's the Department of Education. Most of your servicemen and women have some sort of GI Bill that allows them to get free education. So the Department of Education is in there talking to them about how to utilize those benefits and advance their education. And then there is the U.S. Small Business Administration. We're in there and we deliver a 2-day course on every military installation across the U.S. and some military installations outside the U.S. for those who are interested in being self-employed.
Okay.
Now, this course is a 2-day course. It's a 30,000-foot view of all the foundational information you need to make one decision and one decision only. Is self-employment right for you? That's it.
And
You're not going to. Yeah.
It's okay if it's not.
It's okay if it's not, right? You're not going to come out of that 2-day course and actually have all the tools and resources that you need to get the business up and running, but you will have all of the information you need to make that decision and say, yes, self-employment is the path that I choose, or no, self-employment is not the path that I choose. You may come out of that class and say, wow, I didn't know about all of these resources, a lot of resources there. Let me tap into the resources, and then I'll decide if entrepreneurship is right for me. But it really is. It's a 30,000-foot view to look at all of the foundational information necessary. And in that 2 days, we talk to you about everything from the fact that you've worn this uniform, and while wearing this uniform, you developed a set of skills and you practiced and honed a set of skills that made you an excellent serviceman or woman. And that same set of skills will make you an excellent entrepreneur.
Yeah.
We talk about the market research that's necessary and the tools that are available to help you do a feasibility analysis and find out whether or not your business ideal is actually a business ideal. Is it a hobby, or will somebody actually pay you in exchange for your product or service? We introduce you to, to the resource partners, such as the small business development centers that are located on community college campuses and college campuses all across the nation to help you with feasibility analysis and business planning and market research and everything else of that nature. We introduce you to SCORE, used to be known as the Service Corps of Retired Executives. These are mentors all across the nation who stand side by side with you to help you get your business up and running. And these mentors are in pretty much every industry you can think about. So if you're looking for a mentor in the food service industry, we've got those. If you're looking for those in manufacturing, in any type of manufacturing, SCORE's got those mentors. If you're doing consulting, SCORE's has those mentors. And then there's the Women's Business Center. And then finally, what we're talking about today is the Veterans Business Outreach Center.
Okay.
All of the resource partners provide similar services. We all do feasibility analysis to see if your idea is a feasible idea worth marketing. We all help with business plans. We all can connect you to resource partners and financial institutions to get you access to capital. We all can help you with sales training, marketing training, and everything else of that, human resources training and so forth. The difference is the Veterans Business Outreach Center is mandated by Congress to provide those resources to those who've worn the uniform. That's the difference. Our services are provided specifically for those who've worn the uniform and the military spouses who stood next to those folks that are wearing the uniform. So we work with veterans of all eras. We work with active duty members from all military branches and their spouses across the board. And we provide those resources to them. We connect them to those resources. We provide one-on-one counseling. We provide an ongoing series of webinars, ongoing series of seminars face-to-face. We pretty much, we do everything to help the SBA execute its mission of providing counseling, access to capital, and contracting opportunities.
Okay, so what's interesting that I just found this out is that the 2-day program is presented on basis.
That's correct.
So when you have a veteran who's not on base, how do they get tapped into this?
It's a great question. Well, the 2-day program is known as Boots to Business, and that program is powered through the transition assistance manager. Every military installation has somebody who's responsible for those folks that are transitioning out of the military. Most folks have access to a military installation because they have their veteran ID card. But for those folks who don't have access to a military installation or who may not be near a military installation, the exact same course, word for word, module for module, is offered off base. And that course is called the Reboot. It's the same course, Boost to Business on base, Boost to Business Reboot off base, but it's the exact same course. And you can find any of those courses at sbavets.force.com. That's the old website. It'll link to whatever the new website address is right now. I can't quite remember how to spell out the new address, so I still use the old address. And it just links there, but it's sbavets.force.com. There's a calendar down there for Boots to Business, which is the calendar of those courses happening on a military installation. And then next to it is a calendar that says Boost to Business Reboot. That's a calendar of all those courses that are offered off base. The interesting thing is that course is offered also virtually. So even on base and off base, there are virtual courses that individuals can take. And even at tapevents.mil, 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 our team has already gone in and recorded the course, and it's available there on demand. So somebody can literally just go to tapevents.mil, log into the course there, and they can fast forward, rewind, and take the course at their leisure. It's a great way to take the course. It's a great alternative. The best way to take the course is to take the course in person, where you can interact with the facilitators, interact with other folks who are thinking like you, trying to get a business up and running and thinking about starting a business. But obviously, if all you're trying to do is check a box and get the content, you can get the content through any of our virtual courses.
Okay. And so the first course is the 2-day workshop that's in the transitional process.
That's correct.
18 months, 24 months. But the other course after that is a 6-week course.
That's
which
correct.
Is more in depth.
That's correct.
Right? So talk about those two courses.
Yeah, so the Boost to Business program, this program is powered by the U.S. Small Business Administration, and there are several components to it. The first component, obviously, is connecting with us while you're in transition, getting ready to get out of the military and taking that 2-day Boost to Business course. If you decide that, yes, entrepreneurship is right for you and you want to move forward, then there's the 6-week Boost to Business Revenue Readiness course. In the 2-day course, we spend 60 to 90 minutes talking about business planning.
Mhm.
In the 6-week course, you spend the entire 6 weeks actually working on a business plan. In the 2-day course, we spend 60 to 90 minutes talking about market research. In the 6-week course, you actually do market research. They're going to send you out to do surveys and to do interviews and to take polls and actually go and talk to your potential customers so you can validate your business and your business idea.
Mhm.
In the 2-day course, we talk about all of the different forms of capital and access to capital. In the 6-week course, you're going to begin to put together your financial package and your financial plan so that you can walk out at the end of 6 weeks, instead of having this 1-page business model canvas that you started in the 2-day course, you walk out at the end of 6 weeks with a revenue ready business plan that you can literally go out there and begin to execute on. So that 6-week course is taught by Mississippi State. It's another one of our SBA resource partners. Mississippi State, again, at that same website, sbavets.force.com. There's a logo on there for Mississippi State for the Boost to Business Revenue Readiness course. Click on that and the calendar of all those courses on there. That course is recorded. It's taught through Zoom. It's taught by veterans and veteran business owners and veteran representatives. So you go and you take the course and you're taking week 1 and week 2 and week 3, and all of a sudden you have to go TDY or you miss session 4.
Mhm.
You can always come back and watch the recording.
Right.
You can pick up the phone and call the instructor, and the instructor can catch you up and so forth. And the course is there and the course is available.
And all of this is at no cost.
Everything we do is at no cost. All of the SBA resource partner services are typically at no cost.
Right.
And the only reason I put the word typical in there is because we still want to make sure that the serviceman and woman, in our case with the veterans and the SBA as a whole, we want to make sure that that folks are actually serious about becoming business owners. So some of the scores and some of the resource partners might charge a nominal fee for a workshop. And that's typically you're paying for the resource for that workshop or something like that. So it can be anywhere from $15 to maybe as high as $90 or something like that. It just really depends on what resources are being distributed during that workshop. But all of the counseling, the advising, the mentoring, the connection to resources, everything else that you need, access to those resources, the tools that we use, all of that's absolutely free. And for our veteran, when we say free, we're talking about it costs you no money out of pocket.
Right.
Everything's going to cost you time and commitment.
Yeah,
right?
Which is the most precious resource.
Exactly.